Danny Boyle and Alex Garland have reteamed to produce 28 Years Later, one of the most eagerly awaited legacy sequels of the 2020s, more than 20 years after the release of 28 Days Later. Despite the fact that a sequel was produced, it is a standalone film and neither Boyle nor Garland made any significant contributions. Thus, the first real direct connection to the 2002 zombie blockbuster is found in 28 Years Later. The film, which is set some 30 years after the original epidemic, depicts how the survivors have rebuilt their lives as the title implies. The infected have changed. Some are now slower and eat worms, while others, who are now under the Alpha's leadership, are still as swift and menacing as those we initially saw in the original movie. Spike and his first trip from the remote island where he lives to the mainland are the major subjects of the story. He develops his confidence and character throughout, learning to handle a lot more than simply the infected. But knowing that this is only the first of 3 films, Garland and Boyle used the chance to reveal the ending in a way that left more questions than answers. Spike discovers a doctor who might be able to cure his ailing mother, Isla, after traveling to the mainland with his father, Jamie. Spike accuses his father of not wanting to get Isla help so he may escape the burden and suffering of her crazy episodes of memory loss after he witnesses Jamie cheating on his mother. Spike chooses to travel to seek treatment for his mother in the hopes that she can be cured in spite of the advice of people in the remote hamlet where they live. Since Spike is just 12, there is a recurring motive of his ignorance about the pre-apocalyptic world. When the two finally arrive at Dr. Kelson, these seemingly little objects, like a frisbee or delivery men, become vital. While traveling, they come into Eric, a Swedish soldier who provides an outside viewpoint on the epidemic and demonstrates how technology has advanced beyond the British Isles. However, the Alpha viciously rips off his head. Spike and Isla, who are now with a baby girl born by one of the infected, are saved by Dr. Kelson. Nevertheless, the human newborn is virus-free. Kelson leads them to a large open area where he has constructed trees out of the remains of the deceased. Spike learns from him the Latin expression memento mori, which means remember you must die. When Dr. Kelson confirms his mother's cancer diagnosis, Spike is able to accept her death because of these lessons. At first, Spike is unable to comprehend the severity of the illness and the accompanying lack of a treatment because he has not lived in a culture other than that of the infected. But after being sedated, Kelson voluntarily ends his mother's life and Spike honors her memory by placing her skull atop a monument of heads. Spike is unable to go back home after what he has seen and realizing how different the actual world is from what he has been taught. Nestled inside a shopping basket with the infant called Isla after his mother, he leaves a note at the neighborhood gates. He tells his father that he intends to travel as far as he can before the water is out of view. But when the infected start running in his direction, his quest is cut short. Despite shooting the initial few, he is quickly outnumbered and his route is blocked by a wall of rocks. Fortunately, a mysterious man with long blonde hair asks him if he can help him while wearing a cross around his neck. At his command, a gang of people with similar hairstyles, all wearing brightly colored tracksuits a la Ali, leap down and mercilessly eliminate every infected person in their path. The guy then tells Spike that he is Jimmy. In a scene from the early days of the breakout, Jimmy appears on screen as one of the first characters in 28 Years Later. Jimmy is among a group of young children watching the Teletubbies on television in the opening scene, which is set in the Scottish Highlands. All that is visible is a spatter of blood across the TV screen as the infected smash down the door and start savaging the kids despite Jimmy's mother's entreaties for them to remain in the room. Jimmy is at the epicenter of all the violence, witnessing the infected attack children and even adults. Nevertheless, Jimmy escapes the house and runs in the direction of a church after his mother yells for him to flee. Before he accepts his fate, Jimmy's father, who is revealed to be a priest, gives him his cross necklace. As the infected run towards him, wildly celebrating his fate, he spreads his arms wide, telling his kid that the virus is saving humanity and that it is a means of being free from sin. Jimmy hears these final words from his father before he is mercilessly murdered and infected. Before the film turns to Spike's story, Jimmy manages to hide beneath the church floor and avoid infection. As the film comes to a close, it is revealed that Jimmy has lived and continues to wear his father's necklace, creating a kind of cult where everyone dresses like him and shares his name. Jimmy's retention of his father's cross implies that his ideas were inherited by his son, and the story of salvation can reinforce his cult's beliefs. The 1,234 count from the Teletubbies show is still used to identify Jimmy, even if the specifics have not yet been thoroughly examined. Spike's character will probably be further explored in the sequel now that he's with Jimmy.